And we are up. This is episode number 7. Lucky 7.
Lucky 7.
Of the Our Town podcast, coming to you from Huntsville, Greater Huntsville.
That's right.
Specifically Madison. Someone was getting after me the other day we were down in like Birmingham. Someone asked, hey, where are you from? I said Huntsville. Because I don't know how familiar they are or not with Huntsville, even though it's Birmingham. So you say the city that is bigger, right? That people are going to recognize Huntsville. And then if they are familiar, then you dial in a little bit more into Madison. So sitting across from me, Jonathan Fowler.
Is that?
Jonathan.
That's right. Yes. When I was in, I guess, it was probably, I think my 92 trophy from like soccer said Jonathan. And I'm like, there's not a thon. Like, I don't know too many people that are thon, you know? Like, then I'll start thinking about Cisco. It's like Jonathan, thon.
Oh, like with an H-O-N.
Yeah. It's an A-N, you know?
Yeah, it's one thing to leave out the H or to put in the H by mistake, but it's another to add an O.
That's right. Jonathan. Yeah.
You know, growing up, most Jonathans I met had an H. And then all of a sudden, there was a guy that was John with just Jon.
Yeah. Why'd you say it like that? You're like,
well, and then after that, every other Jonathan or John I met with just had an N. So I started, okay, this is a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Just so happens the sample of people I ran into, was abnormal, and most of them had an H in their name.
Yeah, the thon was the weird one. And I have a trophy that says thon. And I'm like, it made me so mad because, you're excited about getting that trophy. And I'm like, this is not mine. And they're like, it says Jonathan Fowler. I'm like, no, it's Than,
So I think now you're here for Fow Wow Designs. That's basically how I came across you. We have a mutual friend, Bill Nyland from Activate Communications.
Sorry about that.
Shout out to Bill. Morgan Vick was on episode 3.
Yeah, I saw that.
Works for Bill.
Yeah, she's awesome.
But I would imagine you've got I think you live a pretty cool life. You've done some pretty cool things, and I'm excited to get into it with you.
Yeah, I don't know if there's been some cool moments, and it's definitely I feel like I tell a lot of stories because I've definitely live a fun. I try to make it every day just a good day,
Yeah.
So make the best of what's around. Dave Matthews is coming next week, so we'll make the best of what's around.
To where?
To the Orion.
To the new Orion.
Yeah, which is like, is you say Orion or I've heard Orion.
Yeah, I would
Someone
say
said
Orion.
that. I did too. Yeah,
I think it depends on where you come from, maybe.
Yeah, so it's like the buffet.
Wait till they pronounce amphitheater.
Ooh,
then you're really gonna.
Orion Amphitheater. Theater.
I saw him. I was just telling you off air that I was from Virginia, and I saw Dave Matthews. Wow, at it used to be called Nissan Pavilion. Okay. Now it's called Jiffy Lube Live.
All right.
I think that's still the name. It may have changed again. It's an outdoor venue, amphitheater.
Yeah.
The difference though is it's covered, where people sit like down low and they pay, and then there's the grass, seats behind it. But that was like 12 years ago. Good concert.
Yeah, he's from Virginia.
He's from Charlottesville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he, I don't know, it's kind of weird. I grew up, a lot of my shirts are too, like, I'm not getting too much into that shirts now, but like there's a lot of music relation to things. And I would say Dave Matthews, I was like 93. I had a friend, his brother was in like college and gave us like a little tape and we started listening to it. We're like, oh, that's so good, And then I kind of like got away from him. I feel like he kind of, in my mind, he sold out a little bit, It's kind of weird I say that because I was like, oh, I know, I'm a Dave Matthews fan, People say that about everything, but I realize I'm not really like people before me would have said the same thing too, right? And so then I watched a documentary on him like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, I'm getting tickets. He never changed. He's, and so I got tickets. I'm supposed to meet somebody tomorrow to get some tickets. So
that's just like the way his marketing people or his like PR people were. I guess what you were seeing was really not reality.
Yeah, well, I think it's just like he's always been the same person, and I feel like in my mind, like I was like he started getting too big, and it's kind of I can say that about like sometimes with like I love organic marketing, and that's how I feel. We've done a pretty good job. Me and Bill go back and forth. He's like, we gotta do this and this, and he's a marketing guy, and I am too. But I'm more of like, I just love the organic, slow growth, and like I feel like there's like realness to it a little bit. And nothing against the trying to do the used car salesman stuff because there's a way to do that too. But I feel like going back to Dave, I feel like in my mind he was like it got too big, and I was like, wow, like people were like they would go see them and they're like I was like, how was it? And they were like, well, he played for like 12 minutes, and I'm like, for one song, and I'm like, he's jamming, man. That's what he's supposed to be doing. Yeah. So
it's live music.
Yeah, it's live music, but I'm excited now. It's kind of it'll be fun, and it's kind of cool. I mean, back to the amphitheater that we have have that going on. I think it's the first time Dave's ever played in Huntsville. I mean, for sure that I know of. I mean, and I would know that probably. So
thank goodness he's playing here in May and not July.
This is true.
He may not come back.
Yeah.
So they say. I don't know. I don't think the humidity is going to be that bad. If you're from Virginia, he's used to some humidity.
Is it bad up there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I have a shirt that says, "We're only humid after all." It's an Alabama shirt, but I guess that could go with like, maybe I should put it up in Virginia too.
So let's quickly set up Fow Wow.
Yeah.
And I want to come back to actually something you said, but Fow Wow Designs, how long you been in operation?
So I started basically, I think it was like 2013-ish, just as a side hustle kind of thing, or not even a hustle, just kind of some fun. But I would say as an LLC, 2017, I believe, we finally like formed like an LLC after just, meeting people in parking lots and giving most of the shirts away. I mean, just as a fun thing. It really took me a while to become a business, just for me, not because of anything else, because of me just being like, oh, that means I'm gonna have to work.
So let's go back to that initial thought in 2013.
Yeah.
You're with some buddies, you're with some family, you're by yourself, and you have, I've got this idea.
For sure. Well, I love T-shirts, and I always have loved. I grew up. I'm a pastor's kid or minister's kid or whatever, and then like, I grew fond of like thrift stores because that's what we could afford, but then also you go in there and you find these old shirts that are kind of funky, and like I always loved having just old shirts or old jackets that something from the 70s or whatever it may be. So I love T-shirts, and 2013-ish, I was working at a job that I didn't really love. And while I was there, I've just always been kind of a creative guy, like with words, not necessarily with the artwork, but with like words and coming up with puns and stuff. And so I actually started putting down diabetic puns because I'm type 1 diabetic.
Wow.
And so on Post-its. And so I'd write them on Post-its when I thought about it. I had one that said, I have an insulin pump. I wear an insulin pump. And I had one that said, pumping ain't easy. And I had one that said, I was thinking maybe like, what if I get sponsored by Equal and I could put diabetics are equal or diabetics are Splenda, In my mind, I was thinking that way. I was like, they'll pay me, and millions of people wear these shirts. And I realized that there's not a lot of people that would probably wear the shirts I was coming up with.
Say like type 1 will always be better than type 2.
Oh yeah, type 1. Yeah, we're the onesies, But a lot of that goes back to I was meeting kids that had diabetes that were younger, and they were like, and I remember when I was little, I got it when I was 7, meeting someone that was older than me, and they were like playing sports, and it just brought this feeling of like, man, it's all good, And so I wanted to make some diabetic shirts that kind of had that same thing, so where people see it, it's like, oh, I have something in common with that person, and it's going to be okay. We can have fun with this. It doesn't all have to be serious. It is a serious thing, but it doesn't have to be all serious and just trying to find something in common with people. And so I found out I actually did a couple of shirts. I had a piece of bread and insulin bottle, and they're dressed up like Run DMC, and I put breaking it down because like insulin breaks down carbs. So I made like 4 of them, and on this, and that was the first shirt I probably ever did. And so I did that, and I started thinking like, me and my wife went on a trip to Asheville, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And this was like 2012 probably. And as I was there, I remember seeing like all the local companies. We went to a local bakery, and I used to do a lot of bouldering, so we went to met some people that told us about these local spots to go to, and realized like Asheville was all like local spots downtown. Yeah. It was really cool, and cool seeing how they all supported each other and would tell you about another local place. And they had this sticker and sign and everything for the local businesses, and it was like, love local, support small businesses, and it was like local Asheville, and it was really cool. And so it just kind of got my motors running, because at that time there wasn't a lot of small businesses here in Huntsville. Well, it wasn't really, like, there was some that were like restaurants, and Harrison Brothers to me is like one of the OGs of like just Huntsville and this local, supporting local stuff. There's a place called Switch House that was in close to 5 Points I used to go to when I was living in 5 Points. So I was on my way home, and I was like, man, I need to do, I remember like thinking I'd love to do a shirt that kind of gave back to the local community, those that were trying hard and like trying to give a light on them. So I thought about local, the word, and that sticker I saw like support local, and AL is at the end of it, locale, And so I decided to come up with a shirt that said support local, and the AL was the state. And at that point, there weren't really many places. Now you see it where it's like AL is the state, and they incorporate that. At that point, I looked it up because always I'm trying to find out, make sure I'm not copying anyone or whatever. Even though I mean, I look at stuff and I'm definitely like on the cease and desist line, but
Toe in the line.
Toe in the line, yes. Parody law there, So I ended up doing that support local, and I got with some of these local businesses in Huntsville, like Switch House, Fred Bread, and was like, hey, I'm gonna put your logo on this, and just want to support y'all, and give some love back to you. And they were on board, but then I started thinking, like, how am I going to do this? Because I didn't know a lot of graphics at that time. So I ended up just doing the support local. And then I also was like, I should do a Huntsville one. Couldn't find Huntsville shirts in town. And so I did what I called a mustache-tronaut. So it was a astronaut with a huge mustache, and in his glasses, it just said Huntsville, right? And so I made maybe 40 of those, like both of them. And I went to Low Mill, started selling them there, and they actually kind of did well. And then I started giving away a lot. I'd meet people in my minivan to like in Lowe's. I remember meeting somebody, one of the designs I met them at Lowe's on South Parkway in my minivan. And it was like, I loved it because, again, I talked about how I love organic marketing. It was like, I just felt like it was just fun, It was like a fun thing to do and see people want these things and want to support their state and their city, and that was really cool to be a part of that. So that's kind of how everything started. Those shirts were okay, and then I was selling shirts at Switch House with this lady named Monique, and while I was there, there's a guy from Drop Metal. He's a local guy, amazing, and we just kind of met each other at this local shop, and he saw what I was doing. He was like, have you checked out Low Mill? They have classes you can take in screen printing. And so I looked it up, and I decided to come up with another Huntsville design, and you can make 4 shirts in this class. So you take the class, you make these 4 shirts. And so I did it's a unicorn, and the horn on it is like the Saturn V, and like behind it, the blast off is like his beautiful mane, and it just said, keep Huntsville magical, And so I did that I made 4 shirts, and while I was there, the owner of the place was like, you should sell these here. And it was a local t-shirt, they printed, but they also had some of their like artists that were part of the collaborative that were selling shirts. So ended up starting to sell some there, and that's really when it really started growing. And at that point, I didn't have the name Fow Wow. It was just whatever. It was just making shirts for Huntsville.
Just Jonathan Fowler.
Just Jonathan Fowler making, the really not so great artist. So.
Well, one thing for our viewers, and what I like about my podcast is you get the audio and the video.
Yeah.
And actually, what I'm doing for the first time is cycling through your products. And so
that's
I was kind of hoping the unicorn would actually come up because I think it's in this role.
Yeah, it is somewhere.
But and actually, I wanted to talk about the fact that, let me switch over. We're wearing the same shirt. I went to Harrison Brothers on, I don't know, Saturday, I think.
Yeah.
And I got this.
Oh, yeah.
And I also went to the pants store.
Yeah.
And I got the Montesano.
Oh, thank you for supporting both of them.
Like the Mountain Dew
yeah.
Design. Oh, I'm telling you, like, I'm kind of like, I would like to wear a different t-shirt and like kind of hang them up in my closet for every episode. And so I think I can get through probably like 60 episodes and not repeat shirts.
Yeah, if you look at our online store, it's crazy to see how many, and there's some really bad ones, but there's a few good ones in there. So, but thank you for supporting. That's what it's about. It's like that's what I wanted to like. The pants store, man, they've been so supportive. Harrison Brothers has been so supportive. All of our local vendors, we have so many, and there's some stores have come and gone, and they've been like Fringe and 805. They started buying our stuff years ago too, and it's just really cool to see like these local businesses like supporting other local businesses. I remember like Switch House. There's a few times where like, Monique is struggling because again, a lot of people at that point said that they want to support local, but there wasn't a lot of support for her, and I was kind of sad. So, we like it was so cool because at one point she was like, "Can I pay you in Fred bread?" And I was like, "Yes." Like, and so I bought this. We were just kind of bartering, and I was like, it was fun, Yeah. So, but thank you. That's what it's about,
No worries. I had never been to the pants store, and I wasn't sure what to expect, and I was like, "This is a cool place."
Yeah.
And then we went across the street to the Cookie Fix.
Ooh, how was that?
Man.
Was it
so
good?
good. Oh yeah. We went on
So what is the Cookie Fix like?
It's just cookies. Like really good cookies. And like for example, last summer we went on a family trip to like the Florida Keys.
Yeah.
And we had never been to Key West. Actually, we'd never been to any of the Keys. I take that back. We'd been to Key West as part of a cruise. But we started in Miami and drove all the way down. Went out to Dry Tortugas on the ferry, which is about 70 miles west of Key West. Highly recommend it. You got to do that.
Man, it sounds awesome.
And then we drove back. But what we did as a family was every time we went to dinner, we bought a key lime pie for dessert.
Oh, yeah.
And it was amazing how different they all are. I tell you, and I think the one that I liked the best was the first night. Yeah. But you would expect first night, there's going to be plenty. They're excellent after this. But that cookie, so we got the key lime pie cookie at the Cookie Fix. Oh my gosh, it was better than any of the pies I had in Key West.
Yeah,
it was that good.
Man, well, I'll have to check it out. Even though I'm type 1 diabetic, I shoot up insulin on the regular. So I like people I kid around. I'm like, oh, thanks, I'm diabetic. But then everybody's like, Fowler, you eat Sour Patch Kids all the time. I'm like, yeah, you're right, I do. I just give insulin for it, So
I'll give a quick shout out to Clark Dunn, who does the Beyond Rockets podcast, and I had checked out your episode with him. And that's where I picked up the fact that I think your roommate or your buddy helped you name Fow Wow.
Yeah.
Right? He was setting up your router.
Yeah.
Or your Wi-Fi connection in your house. And you want to take the story from there?
Yeah. I'm not the most techie person. And so a buddy of mine, Eric, was there that I used to climb with. And we had my house in 5 Points. We had a lot of folks just in and out. It was just, I think we didn't have a couch. I think we just had everybody bring a camping chair over there, it was when I first got it. And it grew, even at that little place we ended up getting a couch, whatever. So we were sitting there and I had a new router get set up and he was like, what do you want to put as your name? And I was like, I don't know. And so I just remember them laughing in the corners, a couple of guys. And so the next thing I know, they set it up and did my password, locked it, had all my stuff in. And I was just kind of getting everything else ready. And they called it Fow Wow's Playhouse, which was super creepy, So, but a lot of that, I think he got that from Eric. Was one Halloween,
Pee Wee Herman.
He wanted to be. He was like, "What should I be?" I was like, "You should be Pee Wee Herman," And me and I had three other buddies that were the Golden Girls. So that was back in the day when Huntsville really. Yeah. Now you can find all kind of stuff to do on Halloween, but we were like, where are we gonna go? Dress up like the Golden Girls, and it was but it was a lot of fun. But yeah, so that started Fow Wow, and then a lot of people call me Falcor, even in high school from the Never Ending Story, and the bird with the weird boils that kind of creep me out, but I love Never Ending Story. They used to call me that, and then Fowler was always one too. And but when we decided on the name, it was I don't know. I feel like Falcor had been kind of maybe it's already taken because of Never Ending Story. And then Fow Wow just kind of sounded fun, It was kind of well, maybe I'll just call it Fow Wow, not Fow Wow's Playhouse, because I don't want that. Yeah. No one would probably ever go to my website because they think something weird's about to happen.
Careful how you Google that.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's kind of how Fow Wow came about, the name. And then again, like I said, the shirts we started doing before, I never wanted to put Fow Wow and stuff because I'm like, I don't need the attention. I don't like that kind of attention. It's cool to see people wearing shirts, but I didn't want to put, look what I did, Yeah. And so I used to just try to hide it in different places. And now, Bill's taught me, he's like, you gotta know, put it somewhere and brand it, And so usually I put Fow Wow Designs or whatever, or Fow Wow. And I've used to do sometimes I'll put the FW, like it's an R ball, and I just do FW ball so they'll know. But I'm learning a little bit. And it's weird because I'm a marketing guy, that's my degree. And I'm just I just don't like all the attention, on me, It's just kind of cool to see it back on the city and the state and these nonprofits that sometimes we were able to help,
So let's step into, you just mentioned college. So let's go back. Mm-hmm. You were born in Huntsville, but grew up in Dothan. Is that right?
So I was born here, Huntsville Hospital. I moved when I was 8.
Okay.
And moved to Dothan when I was 8, and then lived there in middle school, elementary, middle school life, and then my freshman year in high school, I moved back to get back home. Our family was all up here, and so we moved back my 9th grade year, and I was, of course, as you can tell, that's a big year. Freshman, you're trying to decide. I have all these friends, and now I'm leaving them all, and I don't know many people in Huntsville, except my family. But I think it helped me formed the person that I am, because I was I'm talking to anybody and everyone that talks to me now, and I've really learned that you can find something in common with everyone. That's why I know we're not talking about Justin over here. That's when I met Justin. So I met him when I moved back home to Huntsville, and it was just really, it's cool to still have relationships with people like that.
So what took you to Dothan?
So my dad was here, and he actually used to work at a place called Buckeye. Used to be in Huntsville, and he was doing like accounting, finance stuff, and then he was helping on the side with the like a church, just kind of helping out with their teens. It was Maston Lake Church, and so I think he really had a calling to like he wanted to do that instead of the finance route.
Gotcha.
And had someone reach out to him about coming to Dothan there was a church down there that really was looking for someone, and I think the fact that he didn't have a huge background in like church and religion stuff for just going, it really made him like he's just an awesome fit for any teens and youth. And so he went down there to be like a youth minister, and moved down there, and I kind of I fell in love with that town too. Like it's hot as anything, it's like Southeast Alabama. But found out about boiled peanuts, and we were like really close to the beach, like an hour from like Panama City, maybe 45 minutes, which wasn't good for me because I'm albino. So, but we're going to keep like sunscreen in business because me and my wife have 2 girls too. So they're pale as could be. But we were there, and then my granddad, my granddad started not doing too hot. And so, my freshman year, my dad had been trying to find some jobs up here and then moved back to Huntsville, and just to get closer to family. And while it was really hard, it made me who I am. And the fact, like I said, that I can find something in common with anybody. That's the way I look at it, and I really do. I try to find something in common. And that's kind of how these shirts come about too,
Yeah.
And type 1, those shirts, trying to find something in common with somebody. So
I feel the same way in relocating here, even though I spent longer. I was up in Virginia a long time, but wherever you can call home, you got to call it home and just get involved in the community. That's why I wanted to name the podcast Our Town, and kind of showing that I'm adopting this is my new town, and I have no desire to leave. We'll see how long we're here. Hopefully it's a long time.
For sure.
And
I love that you do that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I think what's crazy is like, a lot of the shirts we sell, especially when we're in mid-city market, I've noticed the majority of people buying our shirts are like, I'm like, are you from Huntsville? Which it's hard to find somebody from Huntsville these days, but majority of them aren't from Huntsville. And I'm like, and they just, support it, and they want to have something from their town, and it's just really cool. And I thought it was going to be more of like locals buying our shirts, and locals support it. And also, but I've been really surprised by just people moving in from Tampa and Miami and California and Colorado. And I'm like, this is crazy. It's crazy to think people are moving here to Huntsville, but it's a cool thing. So thank you for supporting.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's like a post-COVID thing. Well, there's definitely a post-COVID thing where people are just assessing their life, right? And the career they were in, and if they were going to make a change, now's the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's helped a lot of us realize, wait a minute, most people got a chance to work from home if they never had a chance to work from home. And now you start thinking, maybe I want to get out of this big city, or out of the traffic, or out of commuting, and where can you go? And Huntsville is just like the perfect place. For sure. And it might change, right? There's going to be more people who come, and I'm sure there's people who are upset with the growth, but for now, it's wonderful.
Yeah, it really is.
I think that's why people are flocking from, the Tampas even, or wherever.
Yeah.
Just something different.
It's so weird. I always ask people, I'm like, why are you moving here? Havana, but I think it's Havana, Bama. Like she has like she does like coffees now, and I met her at an event a couple of years ago. It was before COVID, and she was moving here from Miami, and I'm like, why are you moving from Miami? They're like, it's Huntsville, and I keep hearing people say, well, it's Huntsville. There's jobs. There's like, it's growing. So it's really cool to see that, and I am one of those like while I love some of the growth, I've seen what growth can do to like some places if you don't do it right.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that like, worst case scenario, we look down the road in like 10 years and people are, just flocking the streets downtown with bachelorette parties, and bachelor parties like Nashville, So I'm like, I used to say I want to get back to Nashville. So I was living in Nashville for a couple of years, and I'm like, no, I definitely don't want to go back to Nashville, And I was there at the Ryman last week, and I was like, this is not the Nashville I remember in the late 90s. So.
What show did you see?
Billy Strings. Okay. Have you heard of Billy Strings?
No, I haven't.
You gotta listen to
I'll
him.
check it out.
He's so good. He's this young guy. He brought back kind of like it's like bluegrass, but I call it hippie grass.
Yeah.
He's got a big kind of like a Dead following, and it's crazy. He had, last week he did 3 nights at the Ryman, which is huge. And you could just tell he was taking it in. He's so young. He's like, man, I just love seeing people when they actually want to be there and play. And he had one night he had one of the most famous flat pickers play with him. Another night he had Bob Weir from the Dead come out and play some sets. He had Marty Stewart play, and then he also had Les Claypool from Primus come play.
Oh, really?
It was crazy. Yeah.
When was the last time Primus did anything?
They played here.
They did?
A couple weeks ago they played,
wow.
and they played a Rush album, and I didn't get to go see it. We were out of town, but yeah, they played a whole Rush album. I cannot remember the name of it, but Primus is one of those ones where I'm like, I like them, but it's also sometimes you feel like you're like, what is happening right now? My head is hurting. So, but man, that's what makes them so unique. So,
all right. So you gave me one, Billy Strings. I'm going to give you one, and if you can have what was your first name again?
Oh, I'm Justin.
Justin. All right, Justin. Jonathan's friend Justin is here. Write down Love Cannon. So these guys, it's like bluegrass.
Okay.
But they'll cover Danger Zone. Remember from Top
awesome.
Gun?
Yeah.
They just cover songs, but it's in a bluegrass thing. I think you'd like it.
Yeah.
Love Cannon. We saw him at some small place called actually it was a cool name. Something in Winchester, Virginia.
Okay.
It's in this walking mall. I can't remember the name of it. Bright Box. It's called Bright Box. It was just a stage of in 200 people.
Yeah.
And I had never heard of it. I assumed it was going to be dumb. It was awesome.
That sounds awesome. I mean, bluegrass and Danger Zone is awesome. I mean, I got to hear that now.
It's kind of like the piano guys where they just keep branching out and covering more and more genres, and you're like, wow, this is amazing.
Oh yeah, yeah. We do a lot of we do a lot of music. Me and my wife, and we're taking our kids to see a show at Red Rocks this summer.
Are you? Oh, nice.
They're gonna be we just want to go the days in, and get in the pool. We're like, y'all going to Red Rocks, it's crazy that they're getting to enjoy things that I never would have, been able to do when I was little. So
let's switch over, and I want to bring up your website.
Yeah.
And actually, while I do that, I'm going to adjust your light. I think it's a little too strong.
Do I look like I'm pale,
no,
really
it's my fault, and I'm sure a lot of people will do. Is that you? That's you, right?
Yeah, that's me.
That was you. And there's that
less
Keep
up
Huntsville
here.
Magical.
There it is. Yeah.
So this is just your homepage.
Mm-hmm.
What I was going to say is, a lot of times you'll hear someone on a podcast, and the person will ask them a question, and it might be a little bit out of their domain of expertise, and they'll say something like, "Well, people at home are probably going to complain and hit the comments, but I'll do the best I can." I realize my lighting. I'm actually experimenting every episode.
Oh, that's awesome.
And my brother, eventually, he lives in L.A. He's been in the Hollywood Unions for 30 years. I'm going to fly him out here, and I'm going to say, I need you to solve my lighting problem. Because it's intensely difficult.
Yeah, I can only imagine. There's so much to this. It's really awesome setup that you have here.
Who's this guy? That's with the strange noises from the Arsenal shirt.
I cannot remember who that was. We had somebody just go in. I'm always trying to get people to take pictures and tag us, and they won't.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, they will sometimes, but I'm and I'm really bad at social media. But I try to get people to tag us on social media, so I'm trying to get folks to make sure they tag us so I can put their pictures up here. Maybe they don't want their picture on our website. That's what it is.
So this one is kind of on the right. The black and the yellow is like a Waffle House type thing of Rocket City.
Oh, yeah. Scrambled.
Now I'm going to scroll. Oh, I like the Mr. T.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that, and what was your inspiration behind that one?
Oh, man. I may get in trouble for this one. So I had a tea company ask me to do some tea designs. and so I was thinking about, what do I want to do? And I did this one because I thought Mr. T first, right? And they had reached out about doing it, and I'd put a jar at the bottom for them, and then they ended up having to go a different route. And so I was like, this shirt's too good to not. And so I took their tea jar off, and I just put a little planet there, and just was like, you know what, I'm just gonna put I pity the Huntsvilles. So, but
you could look at that one if you want. It's easier.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I got the Miami Vice there. We were just talking about Miami earlier. So
Yeah.
I started like when I first started printing. I took that class and I taught myself how to screen print a little bit,
right?
One color, and so I ended up finding. I pieced together screen printing equipment from like it's called the Let Go app, which I don't even know if they still have that anymore.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
And Craigslist, and I found all the screen printing stuff, and so I started printing a lot of these shirts, like the Keep On So Magical. I printed those when we first started because it was one color, right? And then and a lot of them were really bad, like just because I didn't have it press at first. I don't know if you know much about screen printing. Like a lot of times you need a press to come down, so I was like dropping them on the shirt, holding them down, and trying to press through the ink, and then I basically pieced together this thing. And a lot of folks like come up and they're like, "I have one of your original shirts," and it's kind of cool. And like one time I would go and like the ink is like you have plastisol and you have water base. You have like plastic and water base. Well, water base, I didn't have anything that was the thing to press through it. So I had this flash dryer, which basically it cures the plastic on the shirt. And so I was always doing it outside or in my laundry room. But I'd let the shirts, like one time I did all these shirts and I was letting them kind of sit in this one room before I wanted to get them pressed and then go ahead and get them all of them like where they would cure the image on there. And so have them sitting in this room. Next thing you know, I look in there and my dog's in there with my daughter, who's like 2 at the time, and there's paint and ink everywhere. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And so like there's fingerprints and paw prints on shirts. And so I ended up like, I put them in like I had a booth at University Pickers when I first started. And so I put those in like an oopsie pile and like sold them for like $5, And so some of them have like paw prints or my daughter's fingerprint on it. And I've seen like 1 or 2 people come up and they're like, "Hey, that's your daughter's fingerprint." I'm like, I don't know if I should have done that. I don't know if I sold my daughter's fingerprint somewhere. It's probably buying something somewhere, but it was kind of cool. And again, that was all in our house. And then they started growing, and that's when I had to get away from making those in our house. And also I didn't really know 100%, didn't have the right equipment to screen print myself. And I was trying to stay up, like I have daughters, I have a wife, work full time at the credit union. And so I was trying to do this after the girls went to bed so I could still be a good dad, And so I was up at like 2 a.m. like working on this stuff. And my wife came in one night. I was listening to Allman Brothers and there's fumes everywhere. And she's like, "Get this out of our house." And so around that same time I met Bill, and Bill, he really helped me like grow this thing into kind of what it is today for sure. So, but it's really cool, and it's me and Bill are kind of opposites too, but we're also the same in a lot of ways.
Sure.
So,
so are you happy right now with the equipment you have? And
well, we stopped screen printing ourselves, so yes, my wife is happy with that. We started using like local printers.
Okay.
So we have one for sure that prints majority of our shirts. Have a really good relationship with them, and got a couple more. And I try to do like local, support these local businesses. That way, even stickers. I have a guy in Low Mill, Patrick O'Keefe. Like he does all my stickers. You can get them cheaper online, but
yeah.
I mean, just a little bit. He's got really good costs, but still. But I just want to support our local folks. Like they're the ones helping out when you need help and paying for the local things that are going on, the local economy. So, but yeah, I'm happy. Like, I'm happy where, with our printers and who we're using. Again, my wife loves it that it's out of our house.
Yeah. So, I've got this. I would like to be set up at Low Mill and have like a studio there, and then rent out. I have a lot of equipment, and rent that out to other people, other podcasters, or teach them how to do video and do the whole nine. Because this is, it's. You can get yourself in trouble. And this is a little bit like, I want to kind of go later, we'll go back to the start of T-shirts, right? And now you have mugs and you have hats, but you start with T-shirts. You start with what you're good at. So like in podcasting, you start with audio. And once you get that solid, it has to be solid. Yeah. Like audio is king. For sure. Then you move out, right? And you branch out, and you do video, and then you start doing lights, Still not there. I got to master the lights. But
so do you do this like, I mean, this is like kind of on the side, right?
Oh, yeah. I started 10 years ago when my oldest was in 8th grade at the time, and I was doing like public address for his Little League football game.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was boring. I got to a point where I'm like, this is boring, because you have to, in public address, you have to stop talking between plays and all that, right?
Yeah.
And so I was sitting there thinking, well, why couldn't I do my own play-by-play? I should do my own show. And this was way before. So cloud computing has really helped with like Zoom and WebEx and Microsoft Teams and YouTube and Facebook Live, right? And streaming as it is now has made that so it's like a commodity. For sure. It's fully reliable. It never fails. When I started 10 years ago, it failed all the time because you were just using these companies and it's their equipment, maybe somewhere in Silicon Valley or Texas. And so I'd have issues all the time when I would do a game. And so, but anyway, I kind of realized, hey, I could do this on my own, and I had to figure out how to do it. But I got to a point where I'm doing 2 high schools. I was doing the rival schools, and I had a setup for the one school, and I had a totally different setup for the other school. I was interviewing the coaches once a week, which is basically a podcast, awesome. Like a show, because you have to get content and do research, so that then when you do the game, you got stuff to talk about to fill time, right? To fill 2.5 hours. And it just kind of went from there. And
that's so awesome.
And every chance I could, because I owned everything and I wasn't making any money, and the schools enjoyed it. I would just try to. I did like a signing day when they all like signed their letters of intent to play at a school. We did that, or I did that.
Awesome.
And, so I just like I'm just going to keep going and going until I figure out kind of where I want to go with it.
Yeah.
And now that I've moved, I had sold everything and I kind of bought it all back. And this is the first time I've ever done like a full studio setup.
For sure. This is
in podcasting,
awesome.
which is easy now because we're not going live. But even if we were, it would be seamless.
For sure.
I wouldn't have to sit there and stare at the. Are we up? Are we up? Are we up? And apologize to the viewer, to the fan. Well, sorry about that. The internet dropped again. So
this is really cool.
Thanks, man.
It does, like what you just said, just reminded me of like, I don't know. Sometimes I live in the. I don't plan anything. My wife does. She's a great planner, and I try to surround myself with people that I like. Bill, not a huge business guy. I'm like, let's just give away the shirts. And he's like, you can do that. Here's what's gonna happen, and so I try to surround myself with people that I don't have the greatest strengths with. Brody right here, little Brody, he has great strengths with just artistic. We're actually about to like do a shirt for the Orion, and
nice.
And it's him. Like it's him, and I love that. Like I'm celebrating one of my buddies that's way more talented than I am, and it's a different style of art though. Like it's so cool. But I try to surround myself with people that that are good people, but they also can kind of help you out and you help them out too. Like it's a fun thing. And knowing right now we have one full-time employee at the credit, I work full-time at the credit union. We have a full-time employee at Fow Wow, and it's a friend of mine that I've known for years. He moved back into town. Kind of had that same mindset of me. He's like, we're never living here. And he's fallen back in love with Huntsville. And man, I love that he can sit there and just tell me, no, you don't need to do this, or yes. It's like, it's nice to have that. And to have somebody that, cares about you as a person and the business. And also he's like, the better we do, the more money he's making. You know what I mean? So like, we can kind of have more money flowing so we can pay him what he deserves, So it's I don't even know what the question was, but we
So is there there's all kinds of stuff on social media that's supposed to motivate you, and maybe you got some mentors, if you will, and people, but is there someone or a group of people that you kind of tap into for motivation, or I'm going to do it that way, or kind of modeling the way you go about your business?
For sure. There's, I would say a lot of the shirts just remind me of being like, it started at like just festivals, going to festivals and seeing this people with like backpacks selling a shirt. I was at a Stevie Wonder concert one time and I didn't want to pay for the shirt inside. I wanted to get the one outside. And so like I bought a shirt from a guy that had just Stevie's like silhouette and it was just glittery and stuff. My wife was like, don't buy that. And I was like, yes, I got to have this. This is a huge shirt. And so, bad thing was I thought I was buying a large, and he gave me a 4X. So like it's like a night like gown on me, But going there and just seeing stuff, like I remember seeing like at some of these festivals and concerts I went to, people just sitting in the lots like selling 4 or 5 shirts, and they would have like I remember one that was like Mountain Dew, like you just bought the Montesano one,
Yeah.
and it said Morning Dew, which is like a song. And so when I was thinking about this kind of stuff, and at first when I first started doing a lot of designs, I was drawing everything, and I would draw something, and then I'd pay somebody to vectorify it to get it electronically, right?
Right.
And then finally somebody was like, Fowler, don't be paying anyone else. Like, teach yourself these skills in Adobe Illustrator or whatever, you know. So when I first started, I was kind of nervous about, like, I was like, how are people doing these shirts that are, instead of Guns N' Roses, they're like doing something about their town, like without getting sued, you know? And then I dug deep into that, started asking a few lawyers, and, you know, I won't mention their names, but they gave me some advice that they said not ever to say. And so, you know, I started just kind of it opened up a lot when I taught myself and watched a lot of YouTube and asked questions and surrounded myself around a good network of people that they may not necessarily like do all of it, but, you know, it's easy to get somebody to do something and pay them. And I was like, I want to learn it with my hands, and I want to create, because once I learned how to do stuff with my online, it just stepped it up, like just where I was making shirts and making puns and whatever it may be. Online company wise, there's been, I would say, there's a t-shirt company that was based out of Nashville. It still is. It's called Project 615. And I really love what they're doing, because they're kind of doing some of the same stuff, but they were giving back to like local homeless communities. And at one point I've gotten to know the guy that used to own it, and they had like people that had felonies, and some of the people that were going through recovery, they taught them like this skill of like screen printing so they could find a job when they got out of whatever they're trying to do in recovery.
Right.
So my goal was to try to do that. And then I realized that, you know, you put all this time into someone, and it takes a long time. And sometimes, unfortunately, you know, you may lose them, and then you're like back to square one. And so I was like, well, we'll just make money off shirts and give to these local nonprofits. So Project 615 was one. Another one it's in Kentucky. They do just Kentucky shirts, and it's so good. And it's weird because sometimes I'll do a shirt, and then I'll see that I try not to look at other people's shirts, because I'm like, I don't want to copy anyone, you know? And so like I've done a few shirts, and I look on their stuff, and they have like similar, you know, designs. Like then I saw one of theirs, and I'd be like, oh, I need to do that for Huntsville. I'm not going to be copying them, because they're copying whatever this is, and then they're making it about their town. And then lastly, there's a place called Dirty Coast. They're out of New Orleans, and they do some funny shirts, just kind of making fun of their town, like in a fun way. And it's like, I get that. And so it's kind of, they're different styles, but I would say that's who I kind of like look at when I'm on social media, and, which I try to get on there as much as I can, but it's tough because I've, you know, got a crazy lineup in my life right now. So
what do you do at the credit union?
So I do community relations. It's kind of fun that I've been there for like 15 years. I teach financial education there. So today I went to Athens, like got back maybe 2 hours ago. I was in Athens, and we were teaching just kind of like personal finance to a team out there. And then it's financial education is free. And I love being part of the credit union, because credit unions are, you know, they're all about people. Their motto is people helping people. And I feel like it's kind of cool. I try to also separate, because I don't ever want to get in trouble for, like, you know, that's my full-time gig. That pays for my broke pancreas, you know.
Right.
And you know, I do, you know, I try to meet people at coffee and stuff for Fow Wow, and sometimes I get pulled into talking about both, you know. Like I was at Leadership Huntsville a couple weeks ago for Fow Wow, but I saw people that knew me from Redstone, and they're like, "You do this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh, I didn't know that was you," you know. So it's kind of a fun thing.
That's one of the questions I was going to ask you is, you know, you get more recognized being at the credit union or more recognized for Fow Wow?
I would probably say depends on where I'm at, but I would say here lately it's been like just last week I was at Target in Jones Valley, and I was needing some deo, and so I went down this deodorant aisle, and I saw this guy had a Jason Isbell shirt, and I was like looking at it, I was like, oh, that's a cool shirt, and then he's like, thanks, and then he turned around, he's like, hey, are you Fow Wow? And I was like, unfortunately I am, you know. And he was like the nicest guy. I think his name was Michael, and so he was just, you know, and his son was there, and so I got to know them a little bit. So I do that. I work full time at the credit union. I see people all the time, and that's, you know, working in the community. You meet a lot of nonprofits and groups that I find out. I'm like, oh, we should do a shirt and give back to these guys, you know. So it's kind of a fun thing. And then, you know, on the weekends, I have a heart for like our unhoused community. So I help out, and I get called. I get called a pastor a lot, even though I'm like, do not call me a pastor. You don't. I'm not a pastor, but I help out on the weekend with our homeless community, and we got, you know, it's just a lot of fun. Like in there, we did a shirt. I think you had it over there earlier, or over here. It had Huntsville, and it was in the shape of a heart.
Yeah.
So we did that last year. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of like the Tom's kind of thing. You could buy a shirt. And so for every shirt that we sold, you're buying one
Here, I'll bring it up real quick so we can see it.
For sure. I want to take a sip of this delicious Grape-A-Co.
Yeah, man. That's one of the best things about Huntsville is Grape-A-Co.
Yeah. And you got the diet.
Yeah. I've never had the regular.
Yeah. Oh, the regular is like, if my blood sugar gets low, I like go to the store and just get like regular Grape-A-Co, and it's like.
And the crazy thing is I got 2 high school boys here and my wife, and we all drink it.
Yeah.
And my wife doesn't drink diet, and my kids don't drink diet, but they all like diet Grape-A-Co.
Yeah.
And before you showed up, I got rid of about 6 12-packs, like the cardboard. We look like we're.
I remember where I was. I know this is, again, I'm a story guy, but like I was on North Parkway at the Chevron with my buddy Punit Patel, and we got out of the car, and I stepped into this like Chevron. I've always loved Grape-A-Co. Before, like I got diabetes when I was 7. And so before then, Grape-A-Co was my drink. That's just what I drink all the time, you know. Like when I could buy my own drink, or my parents were buying it, and I wasn't like hustling at 7, you know. But
have a lemonade stand to buy Grape-A-Co.
Yeah. And so I walked in that Chevron. I know every time I see it, I'm like, man, that's where I saw the diet Grape-A-Co. They had it in it, and I looked at my buddy Punit, and I was like, man, there is a heaven, you know, and it's going to have, the streets are going to be flowing with diet Grape-A-Co, you know. It's awesome. But yeah, that shirt right there, the Heart of Huntsville, we did that shirt, and it was, you could buy one, and if you bought one, we would basically match that shirt, and I think we gave away about 140 something shirts to our unhoused community, and it was the same shirt, and so it kind of makes you think like, you don't know if they're, you know, you see that shirt out and you're like, did they buy it, or is that one of our unhoused friends? And it's like, I can't tell. And that's what I was trying to do. It's like, you can't tell because we're all people. We all like, you know, like in my mind, we're the same, you know, and you can find something in common with that person.
So here's a question. Going back to what you were saying on things that like, there's the Hulkamania one, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like Huntsville Mania. And then there's the one that's in the Metallica.
Yeah.
And what does it say on that? It says Alabama.
It says Alabama. Yeah.
Right. Do those do better because people see that and recognize, like, it doesn't matter really where you live. Everyone has seen the Metallica logo.
For sure.
You know, Hulk Hogan on a national scale. And no matter where you're from, you find humor in that. Like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Versus, you know, maybe something about the Arsenal where people don't know about the Arsenal and the strange noises.
I've never been asked.
We track that yet?
I've never been asked that. Would we track it? And I would say, like, that's a great question. And in my mind, I see Huntsville Mania and I like love it, but there's only like a specific group of people that are like Huntsville and Hulkamania and Hulkster. They still buy it, and when the people buy, like I call them those deep tracks. I'm like, that's my person right there, you know. Like we're on a deeper level than somebody else, you know. But then like I would say our number one, I guess we usually look at it. It's our Whiskey We're Here, which is the Egg Beater Jesus. Strange Noises is always one that sells quite a bit, and so. Strange Noises is that's probably just, it continues to sell, and it's because I think it's like you get Stranger Things like but also if you live anywhere close to this place, you hear this strange, and there's always stories like what's going on out there, you know, like there's just explosions, and so I would say like it's if you think about our top 2 sellers, you have Huntsville, like the Egg Beater Jesus, and then you have Strange Noises. And so it's kind of like you have one of each. And so it's kind of cool because, you know, I think the Huntsville the Egg Beater Jesus one did well because at that point, that was one of the first ones where like it was really punny Huntsville shirt. No one at that point was doing anything like that. And so that's when everybody hopped on it, you know. And then now I'm getting confused, Strange Noises. That one, I think there's a lot of fans of the show. But also, there's probably more people that are like, it's weird, whatever's going on out there in the Arsenal, you know, like we don't know what these noises are. It's like one after another, you know. So I guess to answer that, it's a little bit of both if you look at our top 2 sellers. So.
By the way, I just realized I'm going to owe you a giant apology.
Oh, no.
And that is because, That's funny. Hold on 1 second. I realized that I misspelled your name on the software screen.
Did you put a JOH in?
I put an H in there.
Oh.
Because I think I originally I had created like 6 screens, but then it was killing my CPU because I had just had way too many things going on in memory, and I just forgot.
You're all good because you didn't put thon. Like
no,
thon,
I just put the H in there. I'm sorry,
it's totally
man.
fine. No, that's not how it was spelled on my trophy anyway. So I won't hold that against you. You know.
So I tell you what, let's do this. I want to do the quick 6 with you.
Yeah.
These are just 6 questions, and even though it says quick 6, you don't have to answer it quickly.
Okay.
It just sounds cool.
Gotcha.
Take as long as you want. And then I got a bunch of other questions, but I want to make sure I get to this.
For sure.
Oh, now, so you're an Alf fan.
I'm an Alf
Alien life form.
Yes.
And most people probably don't know about Alf. It was only on for 4 seasons. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know how many seasons it was, but it was not on long enough in my mind.
Oh, actually, you know what? Before we do that, I got to bring up some. If I'm going to mention Alf, I got to use the internet to help our viewers.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's I got this prepared here.
I went back and watched Alf though, not later on in life.
There he is.
Yeah, there. See, usually he has a rose in his mouth or a cat, and he's chasing the cats. So.
Let's see. So why don't you do a quick synopsis for people? Do you remember the show well enough to be like, okay, this is what happens in season 1? Or
no, I'm not that great. But Blood, that looks like a Golden Girl.
He's wearing a wig.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's one of those shows where I couldn't tell you the names of any of the other actors.
I don't know either.
You know. And let's see. I think I have one more. Here's the family picture.
Oh yes.
They got the little boy and the.
Yeah.
I guess he crashes into their garage in like episode 1, and
for sure. Yeah, I think a lot of that just goes back to like it reminds me of just my childhood. You know, it just brings back this feeling of like, man, that was it. Because I started watching this like not too long ago. And I was like, man, that was a weird show, you know, like, and so I just want to hold on to the love of Alf. You know, I had an Alf doll that I would watch Alf with when I was little, and ended up like later on in life, my dog ate the nose off of it, and I was kind of mad about that. But it's just like this feeling of like youthfulness, you know, because that was what I loved. So.
And it was such an impact on you. You said your groom's cake or like your wedding was an Alf cake.
Yes.
What the heck did that look like?
Oh man, I won't tell you because I know a lot of people thought his nose is not that kind on a cake. You know, like,
okay.
So it was. It looked like Alf a little bit. Actually, like our Peggy Ann Bakery locally. Have you been there yet?
Not yet.
Oh, Peggy Ann Bakery.
I'm gonna write that down.
Old school Huntsville. They cheese straws. They got these little pedophores. They're so good. But they did my groom's cake, and I think my mom was like, I think I can find something. This was back in 2011, and she found a tin and got it all taken care of, and it's still. I mean, it was great, but it was funny because if you looked at it at a different angle, you're like, what is that? You know, like there was like the Alf cake, which is funny. Again, I'm diabetic, and then just Sour Patch Kids everywhere because I'm like, I love Sour Patch Kids too. So, and I was hoping that Duff would do my cake and it'd be standing up and like somehow it would move, but you know,
yeah,
I'll take Peggy Ann Bakery is delicious. So,
sorry, I hope this first question isn't too hard.
No.
And you might be, if you answer it correctly, you might be the only one in America that can answer this, unless it's the other Alf fans. Do you remember the name of the guy who was the voice of Alf?
Oh, what was his name?
Okay, I'll give you a hint if you want. First name Paul.
I will never get this.
Paul Fusco.
Fusco. I never would have got that. He was the voice, or he was like the person in the suit.
He was the voice.
Okay.
Yeah.
He just passed away not too long ago.
Did
I
he?
think. Yeah.
I remember if people go back and watch it, wondering. Same thing with like Elmo. Elmo had a different voice before the guy took over as the voice of Elmo, and he totally changed it.
Yeah.
I always wondered, like, was that the right voice? Did they spend enough time testing that out? But it works.
Yeah, I know his voice was it was so, I don't know. He kind of had that like chillish sound, you know, like it was definitely interesting. If you're asking me Alf questions again, it's that.
No, that's the only one.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm not a true Alf fan.
So after we're done with the quick 6, we're gonna get a little bit into your memorabilia and stuff that you collect.
Yeah.
But if you could sell one thing right now from your memorabilia, and I know I haven't set it up for our audience other than you went to Gunnersville and bought $70 worth of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff, you said, but is there one thing right now that you would just like unload? Either the value is good or you're tired of packing it around.
I mean, if my wife was here, we'd be here for another like 6 hours. I have so many things.
She'd have like a book of things to get for you to get rid of.
So something that if I had to get rid of one thing, I mean, that's tough. Let me think about this. No, I've seen like I have a lot of T-shirts, like just collected T-shirts over time, and I found out now that I'm old because all these '90s shirts that I had when I was in high school that I held on to, they're worth a lot of money.
I bet.
So I'll say I have a '94 Fish Tour shirt that is selling on eBay right now for like $175, and so I've got so many T-shirts. I'd probably just be like, you know what? I'll let that one go just to make some extra cash for the girls. T-shirt. You know, yeah, for sure. It's a Fish tour, like '94 tour. I've got so many like T-shirts that I just don't have the time to like sell them. I actually asked somebody, I'm like, I will pay you like to sell, put them on and sell, because I'll give you a percentage, you know. But I just don't have time to do it because I mean, again, I've got just boxes and boxes of T-shirts, and then boxes and boxes of like old Huntsville memorabilia. Like I have a bunch of like Sports Illustrated for kids that I won't get rid of for some reason. I don't even know why. Like, what am I going to do with those? You know. But I have a whole box full of Sports Illustrated for kids, and in the middle you'd open it up, and there's a poster.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like Charles Barkley or something. So
right.
But maybe I should get rid of those. But I would say the fish thing's going to make some money. You know.
So I think of '94. I went to Lollapalooza.
Oh.
In West Virginia, Charlestown Raceway. I graduated high school in '94.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about my T-shirt. I want to tell you this now before I forget. I went to see WrestleMania, 1987, at the Capitol Center, which is where it doesn't exist anymore, but where like the Washington Wizards play and the Georgetown Hoyas. It's called whatever Verizon Center now. And I saw Hulk Hogan wrestle King Kong Bundy in the steel cage.
Oh, yeah.
And the Macho Man at the time was bad, I think.
Okay.
And I bought his shirt, the Macho Man shirt.
You still have it?
No, but I wore that to school. I thought I was the boss, man. Like,
oh yeah,
because like I went to see it. It was actually on Saturday night's main event. Like they filmed that and then they played that. But that was a cool shirt.
Yeah, I can only imagine
the Macho Man.
I remember going. I still have a ticket from seeing them here in Huntsville. Like it was probably 1980. It had to have been before 88 before I left, and I saw them here and. I remember seeing like Miss Elizabeth and Macho Man like coming in. They used to have them on that little mini, like they roll them in on that mini like rink, you know? Yeah. So I remember he was there. What was the guy that was the dragon? He was awesome. I can't remember his name now, but Hulk Hogan was there. And then I saw WCW when I was down in Dothan, like, and Sting. Like I went and saw him after I was in middle school and my parents let us go, and like Sting got thrown into us. We were so close. It was in Dothan, Alabama. You know, it was kind of cool to see all those guys.
It's funny, like at the Pandas games, they'll use the voice of Ric Flair.
Oh yeah.
When he goes, and I lost my tonsils and my adenoids, so I can't get like a high pitch.
Oh yeah.
But they make that sound, right? And I think most people have no idea that's Ric Flair. You know, like, do you even know who Ric Flair is?
But I don't. That's what a lot of the stuff, like you said earlier about T-shirts, like. It's going to take there's a specific person I'm like, they're going to get it.
Yeah.
If they do, we're on a good level. You know, I need to be friends with them, get coffee.
All right. Tell me, do you have a bucket list?
Bucket list.
100 things you want to do before you die?
Yeah. You know, like we're kind of, I would say like this summer we're going to a show at Red Rocks, and I've always wanted to go to a show at Red Rocks. And so I don't like to fly. It's kind of weird.
Really?
Terrified of flying, and so I was trying to drive out there. My wife won't let us because it's going to take like 2 weeks to do that. But we're going. We're going to go see a show at Red Rocks. I've been to Red Rocks before, but I never have seen a concert there.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's definitely one of the things. And again, music's a big thing to me, and just seeing different places. Now I'm like kind of, I don't know if I'm like, I don't know what you call it, but I only go to specific places to go see people just because I'm like, I want to go see them at the Ryman or these guys at the Wharf or whatever it may be, you know, just go to a venue. So that's why I'm interested to see how the Orion is. I mean, even like seeing some of these bands like Isbell played at Sidetracks, you know, which is like a really super local place. And, you know, it's going to be weird seeing them. I've seen them at big spots too, even in Huntsville. So it's kind of interested to see how their growth also, you know, and I hope they don't forget about these small businesses that gave them love, you know, like Sidetracks and those guys, like they let them come in. Our Crossroads, we used to have a Crossroads back in the day that they had some big bands come through, and it was a small little place, and it's just interesting to see how everything even Huntsville's just growing, you know, and even like the music scene. So
shout out to last week's episode with Tori from WZYP. We were talking about the Sydney Opera House, and she, I was telling her that like I was there on a trip, and 3 days later, after I left, Motley Crue was coming to town. I'm like, oh. And, you know, and apparently the acoustics. She went and saw a show there, and like the acoustics. She saw the Pirates of the Caribbean, but they actually had the orchestra play the score. Like a live orchestra inside the opera house.
Yeah.
And
that would be crazy.
Yeah,
good.
she said it was just, and it is the wood is like some crazy white birch thing you won't find anywhere in the world. You know, cut down rare trees or something, and it's like amazing acoustics.
That's nuts. Yeah, I said Red Rocks. I guess I could have thought larger, but
no,
I have to fly a long way. You know?
No, I think there's a lot of great venues, right? Like Red Rocks is definitely up there.
I know. I'm excited. It is going to be July, so it's going to be hot. But
well, it's different. It's a dry heat.
Yeah,
you'll be all right
for sure.
All right. Let's see. I'm trying to read my own handwriting now. What's you know, I think that you probably get a lot of like T-shirt ideas from people. Oh, hey man, you should do this. You should do that. But what's one right now that's? I think you kind of touched on it earlier, but one right now that's festering in your mind, or you're getting ready and you've got like an idea and it's just a matter of putting it into the normal flow.
For sure. I've kind of, it's weird because I have so many different designs in my notes on my iPhone, and I have it for like Alabama, for Huntsville, for space, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I would say the one right now it's just really cool is what I'm doing with like what Justin's doing, like little Brody right here. Because we got together and it's kind of cool. It's fun to like spin ideas off someone that really gets it. And like, so we're kind of coming up with like we've just been meeting for coffee and stuff. And Justin's, I basically was like, can you make Alabama into a person? Like, just like, I was thinking like put arms on it, you know, but he made like an owl that looks like, it's just amazing. And so I'm really psyched on like letting him travel to these different towns. And while I'm not like necessarily like drawing everything, it's kind of cool to see like a good friend, like put a spotlight on him. And then it's awesome. Like the stuff that he's doing, it's just there's so much detail. And we're about to do this Orion amphitheater that he did, that we just, you know, been brainstorming ideas, and then like I'll mention something and he's like, what about this? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's it, you know? Yeah. So I would say that's one. And we did, as for like me, like idea wise, I've got a sticker that I did, and it's for the Arsenal, because I feel like the Arsenals gave us a lot of love, like Strange Noises, and we do like Arsenal. We've only done like one Arsenal shirt. And so I have one that's like Guns N' Roses. Instead of Guns N' Roses, it's just like Guns and Rockets, because it's like the Army side and the space side. And so it's like their album cover, and it's going to be hard because it's so many different colors. And when it comes to like screen printing, the more colors that are on a shirt, the more pricey it is. Sure. Especially since we're not printing our own. And so, because we have to buy the shirt, and then unfortunately, cost has gone up for us. And so it's kind of one of those things we've never had to raise our price, and like, because I didn't want to, because I don't rely on it, but now I'm like, we have to, because we're like losing money, you know. So like, and especially if we have like a full color shirt, then we're gonna, you know, have to go up on that. But I think that's one that I'm kind of a little bit excited about. But again, I don't know how many people will love that, because in my mind, I think of it and I'm like, I can just hear like Patience in my mind, you know, like
November Rain,
for sure. So,
it could be a big hit, man. The 80s music is timeless.
I know, that's what I was thinking, you know.
All right, so here's a question. No one should rob a bank, but if you were robbing a bank with little Brody here, what's your getaway car?
Ooh, man, hands down. You know what I'd say? Huh? Of
minivan?
No, mine would be 100% the A-Team van. Like
the A-Team, yeah.
Yes. Someone had a picture, and they were like, "Which car would you have?" And they had the DeLorean, the Ghostbuster car, and all these different cars from like the 80s and 90s. And I'm like, hands down, like A-Team van. Like that is. I'm actually been trying to look for one. At one point, we were about to buy like an A-Team van, like a couple years ago, for Fow Wow to take to events. Yeah. And I was hoping we could just like pull up and just drill like a, you know, city of Huntsville trash can.
Was that a Chevy?
It was like like a Chevy. What was it called? Vanagon, I think.
A Vanagon?
And you got to have like the bubble in the back, like the little window.
And it had like a spoiler too, like on the back, right?
Yeah. It had the little red stripe that went up.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
That was. And I really thought about, okay, if we can't afford one of those, because I actually almost bought one in Athens, and it was leaking oil, and I still almost bought it. And the guy was like, Fowler, you don't know anything about, like, I called somebody, like, it's got leaks, it's got a carburetor. I didn't even know what a carburetor was. And so he's like, do not buy that van. And I'm like, really, almost bought it.
What color was it?
It was like a baby blue and white.
Would you paint it black though and you do a full replica?
Absolutely. Yeah. So now I'm just trying to find like a Chevy Astro from like the 90s and just make it into the 18 van, or maybe like a Previa, like a Toyota Previa. Have you seen those?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And just make something that really doesn't look like it.
The Previa.
Previa. Is it Previa?
Yeah, I think it's Previa.
Orion.
Amphitheater.
Amphitheater.
Huntsville.
Fayetteville. That's the one that you got to learn.
Fayetteville.
They're always like Fayetteville.
Or
Fayetteville.
My buddy Thad interview episode 5. He's from Haleyville.
Yeah.
Haleyville. Yeah.
Haleyville had some good baseball teams coming through there back in the day.
All right. So of these 3 things, which would you like to see?
Uh-oh.
The Great Wall of China,
ooh,
a pyramid in Egypt, or the Eiffel Tower?
I would say Great Wall of China.
Great Wall of China?
Yeah. I know I have a buddy that's living in China right now and for years, and just seeing some of the places he travels, I'm like, this is amazing. Like it, and so like you get to see the Great Wall, but also I don't know, the pyramids again, be awesome, but I'm albino. I get hot.
Forget about that.
Eiffel Tower. I've heard that like I don't know. I've heard everybody goes there. You know what I mean? Like I definitely never make it like on that flight to China or any of those places probably. But I have been to Scotland one time and I made it. Yeah.
Okay.
I was terrified the whole time, like just sweating.
So I want to switch over to something.
Okay.
In the realm of your collectibles, your memorabilia, and the A Team, kind of in the same time period. So we're gonna go back over the internet,
Alf,
and we have the Alf stuff up. But do you have any any Dukes of Hazzard stuff?
I liked the Dukes of Hazzard back in the day. It was we used to go to Gatlinburg, and they used to have a place called Cooters up there.
That's where it's from.
Oh yeah, Dukes of Hazzard. Like I grew up watching Dukes of Hazzard.
Well, this is probably where you've been.
Yes,
Cooters.
I have been there. Yeah,
right there, right?
Oh yeah, I definitely. I think it was your brother one time called me, and like the guy who played Cooter,
Ben Jones,
called me from like Chris's phone, and I didn't know who it was at first. And he's like, hey, I got somebody that wants to talk to you, and he handed me the phone, and it was Cooter, and he was like, shepherd of lost sheep, lost sheep, got your ears on? And I was like, I thought it was his brother. And I was like, is Justin on your phone? He's like, no, man, that's Ben Jones.
So he put him up to it?
Yes, it was, and this was before like iPhone, so like I was like, this is so awesome, but
you see Daisy's Jeep there too?
Oh, Daisy, gosh, I had the biggest crush on Catherine. Is it Brock?
Bach.
Yeah. Oh man, she was a cutie.
So this is someone's. I'm going to tell you a story.
Okay.
And this is someone's picture. This might be Luray, Virginia, and this is where I used to live in Virginia, right? So this is the year 2000, and so that show last season was like 1983, and they had some sort of reunion movie, right, like on ABC.
Okay.
And someone told me, I had no idea that Cooter had a memorabilia museum in Virginia, and then of course he had the one in Tennessee where you've been, and. He was like, Daisy's going to be there in like a couple weeks. You should go and check it out. So I'm thinking like, well, no, who's going to go? And so I was talking to my wife, like, well, maybe we shouldn't be early. Like no one's going to go, right? So we'd be fashionably late. It's supposed to start like 10. We should roll in like 10:30. And we come around this corner on Route 211, which incidentally is called Lee Highway. And that's all you see is orange Generalese, like parked in the grass, right? Yeah. And he had a bluegrass band. Cooter did. Okay. So he was playing the bluegrass. He actually was a congressman in Georgia. I don't know if you knew that, like in the 90s.
No, I had no clue.
He did a short stint.
Oh, man.
And it was crazy. And then every like good old boy redneck from Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, whatever, they were all there to get Daisy's autograph. And he's selling moon pies and RC Cola for $1. And his thing was, just as I showed you that car, he collected like everything, even stuff that McDonald's would give like a Happy Meal.
Yeah,
he kept it all.
Yeah.
He probably felt like, hey, this is like maybe the biggest, acting gig I'll get in my career. I'm gonna hold on to this stuff for a rainy day.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure if you had any Dukes of Hazzard stuff.
Yeah, I remember like, in high school it kind of had like a little comeback thing, and I'd watch some of those, and I was more like, again, I loved the A-Team, and then when I guess it would have been in middle school, Saved by the Bell started coming on, and I was like, Kelly Kapowski was like, I loved her, and now my kids are watching like Saved by the Bell and Family Matters, like Steve Urkel. Like I've got my girls watching these shows because, it's good. And some of those things you watch with your kids, some of those shows you watch with your kids, and you're like, man, this is bad. Like I should not be watching. Like, how did I watch this when I was little? But like,
this is bad.
Family Matters and like Saved by the Bell still are good stuff. It's like good, kind of clean, fun to watch with. I got, like I said, I got an 8-year-old Cecilia, and I've got a 5-year-old Lucy, and so like it's just they like to watch those things, so it's kind of cool. But I would say I was more. I watched Dukes of Hazzard, but I also loved A-Team, and then they had like going back to wrestling, they used to have like a cartoon, like WWF cartoon that I used to watch, and then there was Pro Stars. I don't know if you remember that. It had Bo Jackson. It was a cartoon that had Bo Jackson, Michael Jordan, and Wayne Gretzky. And I'm a huge Jordan fan too.
Yeah.
I watched a ton of like 80s and 90s basketball, and so I've got a stand up Jordan that's in my like right next to our fireplace in our den.
A cutout.
As a cutout from like Home Alone. Used that guy in the on the train. I have that one.
Where he's holding it, like putting his hand on his head.
Yeah, he's got a hand on a ball, and then it has like a little like, I guess 6'5" thing that you can go up to, and I used to have that in my room.
So did you watch him when he was with the Barons, when he played double-A ball here?
So I never went to see him play, but if you watch the old Space Jam, they're playing against the Huntsville Stars in the movie, so it's kind of cool to watch, because he played against them, and in that movie they're like playing the Stars, so it's kind of cool. Stars, the old minor league team here,
right?
And they had. I've got a couple of like stickers that I've done some hats and stuff with the Stars, but then I did one sticker, and it's like the Oakland A's like colors, and it just says local, and it's got the A is the A is the A, and the Athletics A in the local, and I've had people that get that. They're like, oh, the A's, because Mark McGuire came through here, Jose Canseco came through here, Terry Steinbach.
Yeah,
there's so many good people that came through here, and it was kind of interesting here in Huntsville, Alabama. And they'd moved to like Oakland,
right?
And some of them went over there and won like World Series.
Yeah, that's right. It's interesting. Reed Detmers, he's the first Trash Panda player that went up to the Angels, and last night he pitched a no-hitter for the Angels. And they had just given out. Well, last year they gave out like a bobblehead, or at some point there was a Reed Detmers bobblehead, and so a bunch of people are posting on social media like, these might be worth something now.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And he was the youngest Angel ever to pitch a no-hitter. He's 22 years old.
Yeah, I need to. I've gotten out of like, again, my time watching a lot of sports. I used to really be big into like football, and like, well, I still watch soccer a little bit, and baseball too. Baseball, I love just going to the games. Do you have season tickets or anything to these games?
No, but I know someone who does. And when you do know someone like that, they're always looking to unload them.
Yes,
because things come up in people's lives, right?
Oh yeah.
But I want to go to at least a game a week when they're in town,
yeah.
and sometimes two. And I actually did back-to-back nights.
Nice.
It's fun to go. It's quick.
It really is. Yeah.
Do you live in Huntsville, or are you in?
I live in Huntsville, so we're in. I call it Dirty South Parkway. I said I would never live in South Huntsville, like South Parkway, Huntsville. I was in 5 Points. I was like, I'm 5 Points for life, And then after baby number 2 came along, and I had a gun pulled on me, and my wife was like, "Oh boy, we need to get out of here," And so, and it was a smaller house, first world problems, but I've only drove by that house a few times because I'm kind of. It makes me sad to see it. I'm like, that was my first house I bought, and I built a free library, so it's still there off Wells, and I just have so many great memories of friends. So a couple of friends that are no longer here, like I see it, and I think of them and stories about them, and I'm like, man, that was just a good time in my life. And And my daughter was, Cecilia was there till she was 2 in that house. And will drive by. My wife will drive by, but that was their old house, like over there, right next to Maple Hill. But yeah, I'm in South Huntsville now, and I love it. My neighbors are. I'm a talker, like I said. And I just meet my neighbors, and I used to make bread. I had a starter, and I make my neighbors bread and bring it over. I think they got tired of seeing me all the time, but I just feel like that's what it's about, is community, and getting to know everybody.
So Dothan did for you, right? It helped you get out of your shell.
This is true. Yeah, it did. That and made me learn to love boiled peanuts, and I can't say boiled peanuts. Have you had boiled peanuts?
I haven't arrived at that. I've had it once. It's been several years, and I'm cautious on that. But
don't get them out to dive in. Yeah, you got to go get them off the side of the road, like in South Alabama, like northern Florida. Don't get them out of some gas station that's like, oh, we got boiled peanuts.
Right.
There's aren't boiled peanuts. So
yeah, it's probably like sweet potatoes, right? Depends on who prepares them, how much butter or brown sugar you put into something, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Man, I could feel like I could talk to you all day.
Yeah, man, I'm sorry. I probably have talked to you.
No, you're fine.
I don't know what time it is right now.
It's actually, I have that clock on the wall, which is probably going to be my detriment. So it's, because some people could be like, hey, what are you doing? It's 7:30 in the morning. Look at that. We're early risers.
They're like, you didn't answer my phone. Like,
it's actually night. It's May 11th. But
yeah.
Any final thoughts? And I definitely want to have you back, man, because there's so many more things I want to get into with you.
No, I just appreciate what you're doing. I love that you came here and you just dove into to the town and getting to know the town. That's what it's about, and supporting the town. And again, I always say I can make T-shirts. I tell people all the time, they're like, "Oh, I love your stuff," and I'm like, I can make T-shirts all day long, but somebody's got to buy them. So somebody's buying them, and it's our community. And I always call them community shirts. And a lot of times, a lot of our shirts go back to the nonprofits. And so, our community's buying these shirts, and then they're going. A lot of them, at the end of the year, we give money back to community, like local nonprofits, and that's how I met Bill. And so it's just kind of a cool thing. It's just very. I always mention organic growth. We're not if you look at our social media following, I'm not big on that, but we don't have we're still kind of small. That's what's so crazy. People are just now finding out about us, and we've been here since 2013 selling T-shirts, and so it's really cool to see. Especially in a town like this, how it's growing, and people that are supporting us. It's just awesome. So I just want to give thanks to you and thanks back to the community.
Real quick, one random fact. I just read a book, a biography on the Marriott Corporation. Took them 60 years to build 1,000 hotels. In the year 2000, they hit their 1,000th property, and then it only took 5 more years to do another 1,000.
Oh wow!
So
man,
sometimes it just takes a while, right? And I think the most important thing is, you stressed it earlier, was stick to your roots, right? And it's hard to not want to put Fow Wow on anything and everything. But sometimes it has to be methodical, right? You got a family, you got kids, you got responsibilities. You're trying to figure out who you can trust, right? In the build up of the business, and it'll get there
for sure. Yeah.
Have you heard of a game called TKO? You ever play Jackbox.tv?
No, I haven't. I've heard.
Write down Jackbox. You're gonna love this. So there's this game, TEEKO.
TEEKO.
Okay. Like T-shirt, TKO.
Yeah.
And what they do is in round 1, and the cool thing about Jackbox is you bring it up on the computer, just hook it into your TV or whatever. So you go to, and there's a room code, and then everyone plays from their phone. You can have up to 8 players. So from your phone, in TKO, the first thing you do is write funny lines.
Yeah.
It could be anything. And you have no idea, but they'll just say, hey, write as many things as you can. Trashy and proud, right? Guns and rockets or something. Then the next round, you draw art. You do a bunch of artwork, and then the next round is the people go and put the sayings with the artwork.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
That's awesome.
You will love it.
So TKO,
okay. Jackbox.tv. They're up to 9 party. There's a lot of great games. That's one of my favorite, and actually, it's a really good soundtrack. And my daughter, there's you can actually at the end say, you know what, make that into a T-shirt.
Yeah,
there was this great one where. Because it's you're trying to draw on your phone, so some of it's not going to be great artwork.
Oh yeah,
for,
that's the best.
You're making stick figures, and But it's amazing what 8 people can do when you're just playing a game and having fun. Like the genius that comes out of it.
I'll definitely check that out. We love, even our girls, like we play a lot of like board games and like just games like that. And we do a lot of camping, and we have a little camper. And so it's the best. Cause then you're just like really getting creative together. And it's not, I don't know. I'll definitely will check that out.
Check it out.
When you said TKO, I thought like Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Yeah.
TKO. You know, when he like
Glass
wins.
Joe.
Glass Joe, yeah. Ball Bull, man. Oh, that's another one.
Awesome, man.
But
hey, well, Jonathan, pleasure to meet you.
You too, man.
And
thanks for the diet.
No, you're welcome, man. I've got literally like 75 cans in the refrigerator there, and there's nothing but Grape-A-Co in there.
Oh, yeah.
All right, brother. Hey, we'll have you on again?
For sure.
All right.
I'm down.
All the best to you.
We'll get Justin to talk over here. You know?
That sounds good. We'll get him next time.
You got to see what he's drawing. I'm sure it's interesting. I don't even know what it is, but it's probably great. So
he's either taking notes or he's doing a review of you or something. I don't know, but he's been studious there.
Oh, man.
All right, brother.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, man. I hope I look forward to coming back. So.
All right, man.
Yeah.